It's summer 2020, and I was just on a walk for the first time in about a week, right? We're all stuck at home, there's nothing else to do, and I had this urge really to see something else. So I decided to escape the house for the first time in a while and just see what I find during my adventure. Normally, before then, when I went on a walk, I would end up at this church, and it wasn't very far away, and so I would just walk there and back. But today, I felt more adventurous and more creative than normal. It was a day where I wasn't feeling as, bad and tired as I normally do for some reason. And so I decided to take a different route, and I end up at this park. Now, keep in mind, it's extremely hot. It's the summer, right? It's probably 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like, 35, 36 Celsius. And I see this man, right? He's doing pull-ups because there's a pull-up bar. And as soon as I see him, I'm like shocked that anyone would do pull-ups at this temperature. And instead of feeling like happy and proud of him and like amazed, I'm filled with these negative feelings of, man, why is he doing that? Why does he need to improve himself anymore? Like, can't he just stop and live a good life? And I was recently reminded of this story because I was doing pull-ups on that same bar, which it's not the one I normally go to, it's somewhere else. So I'm not often at that area, but recently I decided to go, and I was reminded of this, and I realized that those negative feelings I had, those were copes. Those were, a scared boy who didn't want to improve himself because he was scared of the unknown, right? At that point, I was not working out. I wasn't doing anything productive, right? My day consisted of online school, video games, and Netflix. Very little social time, very little. I didn't see friends very much except for online, and my family I maybe saw for dinner once every 2 days. And it was not a great time in my life. And so I'm reminded of this, and I realized that I was just protecting myself, or my brain thought I was protecting me from the unknown, the working out, all that. And I realized that one of the most important, basically, skills you can develop is courage. It's a great thing to practice because you're basically saying to yourself, okay, I'm scared of this thing, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm going to do this anyway, right? And that's something I've tried to improve for a while now. Whenever I get the chance, I try to go through with it, right? For example, today I took a cold shower, and I really didn't want to. It was probably 5:45 in the morning, and I ended up doing it, and I felt amazing, right? Those are usually what happens when you're courageous. Like, it feels pretty bad in the moment, unless you're super motivated. And then after, a few minutes or after you're done, it feels amazing because you did something you normally wouldn't have, and you've developed this, rare skill that a lot of people haven't done yet or haven't tried to. So as I thought about courage and, that man doing pull-ups, it also reminded me of my first time in the gym. And a lot of people might not know this, but I started the gym 3 years ago about. Not because I wanted to, but because I wanted to see a friend, and he was going to the gym for about 6 months at that point. So we make a plan, right? We're gonna go to the gym at this time, and I'll meet him there. My dad's gonna drop me off because I couldn't drive back then. And so the day comes, right? And I'm excited to see him, not for the gym, but just to see him, right? And so I get to the gym, he's not there yet. So I now just have to wait because my dad already left with the car, he was dropping me off, and so I'm there alone pretty much. And so I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And he doesn't arrive, right? I text him, I call him, and he says he has something else to do. And so I'm pretty pissed at him right now, or not right now, but at that point. because he just put me in this uncomfortable position where I had no idea what any of these machines or any weights were. And I'm basically just there by myself, and I have to stay there for a little while because I can't call my dad if he just dropped me off 15 minutes ago. And so I was just standing awkwardly at the back near the bathrooms, and I say to myself, you know what? I'm here, I might as well try something out. And I specifically remember the first exercise I tried was the barbell rows. And because I thought I knew what those were, right? I saw some other people doing them. And so I figured, man, okay, I can try that. It's not very difficult. It was very difficult. I severely overestimated the weight I could pull. So I ended up grabbing the 55-pound dumbbells in order to do my curls. And I can't lift it even a bit, right? I'm very skinny at this point. I'm probably 110 pounds. So I basically just tried curling my body weight, and it didn't go well, right? I thought I embarrassed myself in front of everyone, right? I was imagining every single person looking at me because I just picked a weight that I wasn't even close to achieving. Now, that didn't happen, right? No one really cared. Everyone's just focusing on their own thing at the gym. But that feeling kind of stuck with me for a while until, I learned kind of what I was doing. And so after that happened, I picked a lighter weight and went on with my day, kind of. I still remembered the incident, but I decided to move past it. And at the end of the workout, I was actually proud of myself. I did learn something about weights, even if it was something small like that. And I knew that if I went again, at least I would be able to do the curls because I'd done it before. And so the next time I went, it was a lot easier for me because I was in this environment that wasn't as unknown anymore. There was a shine of light in this darkness, or you know what I mean. And so a few days ago, this guy came up to me in the gym. I was on the shoulder press, and there's a chest press basically right next to it. And so he asked me how he can do it, right? I don't know why he asked me. I think maybe just because I was close by. And so I explained to him how to use the machine. And I try to be as kind and helpful as possible. And at the end, he's like, oh man, thank you so much for helping me. You were such a nice person. And it's my first time in the gym, and I wasn't sure that anyone would be nice here because they all seem super mean, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was basically that in different words. And I told him, yeah, basically that's what I thought as well, until you actually get to talk to people and you find that most of them want to work on themselves, but they also want other people to succeed with them. And so I've never had a bad interaction when I asked people for help in the beginning. Everyone was super nice and willing to help out. And I think a lot of people are scared to really go to the gym because they think everyone's gonna judge them. And in my experience at least, I haven't seen any of that really. I've only seen people trying to help others out, right? So if that's really what you're scared of, at least in my experience, I've never seen any negative experience in the gym. And obviously I'm not there 24/7. I'm there 4 or 5 times a week. But I've gone quite a bit these past few years, and I've never seen anything like that. Another fear I had was people that I knew judging me for, trying to go to the gym. And so one of the things that took me actually a long time to realize was, why would I care what people who didn't work on themselves, why would I care what they thought about me, right? Because they're obviously not trying as hard as they could. And so why should I care what they think about what I'm doing, right? They didn't have the experience to back up what they thought. And so I'm not really sure why that took so long for me to like realize or grasp, but once I did, I was like, well, man, there's gonna be people that hate you everywhere, or people that are jealous of you everywhere. And so there's no point in not doing something just because you want some other person to like you, right? There's this quote I heard, I'm not sure where it's from, but you only start living when you stop living for others. It's something like that. And that really made a lot of sense to me, because for a while I was living basically to make other people happy or to try to fit in. I used to wear Jordan 1 lows, and I had no idea why people wore those, but they did. Because for me, the shoe was so uncomfortable. It was like really flat, there was no padding or anything, and I hated wearing them, you know? I only wore them because I thought others would, you know, like me more. And so once I started going to the gym, I basically had that realization of why the hell should I care what other people think about what I'm doing? So I stopped wearing those and my physique improved, so I got happy. Another thing I like to remember, even now, is that there is no hater doing better than you mentally or physically, right? Because if they were, they would have no reason to hate. I've found that for most people who are, you know, happy with themselves, they're a lot happier and more able to help other people. It's the people who are unhappy with their own life that are the ones that like to hate on other people normally. And I would know, because that day that I mentioned where I went for a walk and I didn't like what that guy was doing with the pull-ups, that was because of, as I told you, the fear of trying it myself, but also this dissatisfaction I had with my life at the time because I wasn't doing anything with it, right? I was living each day this zombie blob thing that never went outside, never did anything, never saw friends. And I was just mad at myself for not being the person I could have been, right? And it was only once I started improving myself when I wanted to help other people just as much. I also started getting a lot more comfortable with doing things that I love to do. Things like drawing and calisthenics and, you know, meditating. Because I realized that the criticisms of others who don't do that things aren't valid, right? Why would you let someone hate on you and it get to your head and they haven't even done it before, right? For example, today I made this drawing. It was kind of like a panorama drawing, and I was pretty proud of it, pretty happy with it. And, you know, all my friends said it was trash as a joke. And that just reminded me of that, because I was happy with my drawing, and even though I thought it was good, there were still people hating on it, saying it could have been colored and the lines weren't straight or whatever. And I know they were joking, right? They're great friends. We're normally very positive, but we just like to make fun of each other, right? And I guess that was a bad example, because they're good people, and normally haters aren't really happy with what they do. So it was only after I got a lot more comfortable with going to the gym that I was able to see that nobody really cared in the first place, right? There was no one judging me, or I think there was no one. And if they were, it didn't matter, because I was just doing my own thing. I've had times where I've failed before on bench press or on squats, and it's been really embarrassing for 3 seconds until I picked it up and tried it again, right? I've had times before where I've basically crashed into the ground on squats, and while it did hurt for a few days, it didn't hurt my ego because I kept trying the same weight. So you see, it doesn't really matter what you do, right? You can go for a run even if you're not good at running. You can go to the gym for the first time even if you don't know what you're doing. You're gonna make more progress doing something bad than you are not doing it at all. And that includes just researching forever without putting any action in, right? Before I started going to the gym, I was really into basically running for maybe a few weeks, because my mom made me go to the cross country team in 9th grade, and I wanted to prepare for it. And I basically did everything to prepare for it except for actually run. I learned running form, I learned, good tips and tricks for the races, but I never put any miles in. And so when I first started cross country, I sucked, right? I ran 4 miles, but 2 of those miles I ended up walking. And so, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you actually try it for the first time. One of the things that James Clear mentions in his book, Atomic Habits, is to start small. So he mentioned to go to the gym for 5 minutes only, right? Drive over, stay there for 5 minutes, and leave. And I thought it was a good idea because this actually would have helped me a lot in the beginning, because instead of spending all that time being scared of going to the gym, I could have just told myself, okay, since I'm only going to be here 5 minutes, I might as well learn something during that 5 minutes. And I would have spent a lot more time walking around and observing people and all that, right? So going to the gym for 5 minutes could mean doing one exercise one time. And that's still progress, right? That's still one rep or one set that you wouldn't have done if you were maybe too scared to go for the full 45 minutes or an hour. And so I'd really recommend doing stuff like that if you don't want to start off on a full thing right away. And that's the same for anything, right? If you want to start calisthenics, but you're not sure where to start, or you're unsure that you can do the planche yet, that's okay. Start with a push-up, start with 5 push-ups and build it up from there, right? I started with 10 push-ups and I ended up reaching the planche somehow. So, it all works out in the end normally. Actually, I can't say that. It's worked out most of the time for me, but everyone's different. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try, right? How would you know if it works out in the end if you don't put in the effort to make that happen? You're never gonna know what could have been if you don't try, if you don't learn from what happened. You owe it to yourself to try it at least a few times just to see if you like it, right? I didn't really like the gym starting off, but I went more than once just to give it a try after my friend bailed on me, and it ended up being, one of my favorite places to be, right? I love going to the gym now. I used to have this wallpaper on my phone where it basically said that if you tried and you did good, that's a lot of progress. If you tried and you did bad, that's a little progress. But if you didn't try at all, that's negative progress, because you're getting worse at the thing and you're just delaying your fear, basically. And so basically one of the things, or the thing I'm going to tell you to do, this action step, is to make a tiny bit of progress towards the thing that you're scared to do. Make a little bit of gains for your courage muscle, think of it as. And the more reps you do using this courage muscle, the better you're going to get at it, right? I never would have gone into that cold shower this morning if I didn't get into the cold shower 2 days ago, right? Or I don't think I have, because it was just so uncomfortable. I was so tired. I was so, wanting to go back to bed, but I pulled through and did it anyway. And after something like that, you can't just help but, smile and feel proud of yourself for doing something you knew you couldn't have done a few days, a few weeks, a few months ago, right? Progress in anything, in any goal you're going for, feels so much better than anything else you can do, right? Scrolling, TV, YouTube, whatever, it doesn't matter. Making progress in a goal you've been working on, it feels amazing, and you can't get that same type of feeling through those things that I mentioned, scrolling, Instagram, right? So many people have reels that are like motivation, like David Goggins, whatever, but they don't actually do anything to reenact those reels. And that's why a lot of people don't feel happy with their lives, like I didn't 5 years ago when I saw that guy once again. And so that's really what I wanted to say. Just go out there and do something to improve. Don't start off too big if you don't think you can make it a habit, but just make some progress towards it, please. For me, for you, future self, and for your past, who wants you to get better. So, thanks for watching. As always, if you want some cool clothing, head to workoutproject.com.